Exciting times here on Locked On Cubs as we kick off another week. We unpack Dansby Swanson more and more and get excited about that. What could be next for the Cubs in free agency or trade? And the Cubs are indeed bringing back a certain left-handed pitcher. We'll tell you all about that and more right now.
Tom Glavine.
Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Dansby Swanson era of Locked On Cubs. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Pleased to be with you for a Monday episode. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. We broke in live Saturday afternoon, Sam, to react to Dansby Swanson signing with the Cubs. 177 M's over 7 years. I am personally still reeling from that announcement and still on a Cubs high, as all our nervousness and angst and criticism, perhaps not out the door, but certainly quelled in a big way with that signing, and excited to get into it this week.
Yeah, I'd like to open the show by talking about the fact that today, Sunday, December 18th, was the second best sports day of my life.
That's right.
And I'd like to thank everybody because we had at least a half dozen of our listeners congratulate me.
Hey, congratulations.
So thank you for that. And I know nobody cares, but I'm going to put a Cubs spin on this because obviously number one was the 2016 club. And this game, and I'm not going to break that down because that's not our job, but this game was eerily similar to Game 7 of the World Series. Commanding lead, blown lead, this and this, roller coaster of emotions. And I think, and of course I'm biased because, these are my two, my favorite athlete, my favorite team. I think those two sporting events, Game 7 of the World Series in 2016 and today, are two of the greatest sporting events maybe in history. I know people that don't like soccer and don't follow will roll their eyes, but you could trust me on that. And it's pretty crazy. I was involved in both of them, and the Cubs were involved in one. And I'm going to do my best to give good analysis today, Matthew. But I am on a very high cloud, as they say, not the number 9.
Was there a weather delay in the game?
There wasn't a weather delay. There was a little bit more twists and turns than the Cubs, but it was just very similar. The structure of the game and what it did to my emotions, and unfortunately what it did probably for my lifespan. But I'm here right now, and that's all that matters.
And we're here with you talking all things Swanson and more as the Cubs lock up one of the 4 shortstops to continue their offseason. They've now made 4 additions going into today. We'll tell you about a 5th, even though there's a little bit of a twist to that one later in the show. In Swanson, Sam, the Cubs get a premier defender that is also a World Series champion. He's had a winning imprint wherever he goes. Great leadership qualities as well around the game. They were talking about that today. And he's put up career offensive numbers the last 2 years with 50-plus combined home runs. And quite a streak of durability as he played in all 162 in 2022. So what are you excited most about Swanson, and how does this impact the Cubs right away?
Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot of it on our live show yesterday. I'd say the one thing that I really learned, I was reading about after our show that I found pretty interesting. I think it was a Bleacher Nation piece. I don't want to get that wrong, but how Jed really was drawn to Swanson because his, obviously his defense, we know that, but Jed was really excited about he is a different profile hitter than a lot of the Cubs. Launch angle, elevating the baseball. The last 2 years, he's really done that more. Yeah. I think his strikeouts are up, yes. But when you have a lineup of Nico Horner, and Happ and Suzuki. Who knows who's going to be a catcher if Madrigal's still on the team. You know, last year, the problem with this offense was they hit the ball on the ground really at a crazy rate in the modern era.
An alarming rate.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even Franmil Reyes was pounding the ball into the ground. They led the league in ground ball rate almost start to finish.
Maybe they have a magnet underneath the field.
Yeah, and so I find it interesting that they got the guy out of the shortstops that hits the ball in the air. I think that's smart. I think with Dansby defensively, you know what you're going to get. Obviously, you're hoping that last season wasn't an aberration defensively because he did take a pretty big jump up and became the best shortstop in the National League. But I think with Dansby, it's going to be about surviving April and May, like it is for most Chicago free agents, right? I mean, Ramirez, when he was traded, Ramirez was one of the worst April hitters in history. Wow. Just survive those cold months that you're not particularly used to. And hopefully the team could stay above water. Remember last year, we didn't stay above water. It got ugly pretty quickly. Stay above water. And I believe when the weather turns and the wind's blowing out, he's going to hit a lot of home runs at Wrigley Field. And, we could set some numbers. I think, anywhere between 265 and 280, 85 is where I expect him. If he could hit 25 to 30 home runs, play Gold Glove defense, you're getting your money's worth.
Absolutely. And the deal, by the way, I think is extremely fair. And about a 25 AAV for those type of numbers is, again, the market rate, and the Cubs paid it. Again, I can't say it enough just about what it does. You could just do the blanket statement about what it does for them defensively.
Right.
But it's what it does for them defensively given the pitching situation. And we're going to mention the pitchers later in the program, but
great point.
There's going to be a lot of balls put into play. And now they're going to have two of the best at their position. I'm automatically putting Horner as second. And now Swanson at short. Plus you have a Gold Glover in left, a Gold Glover in center, and a Gold Glover in right, as Seiya Suzuki won multiple Gold Gloves on the other side or in the Japanese league there. And so it's, again, hard to project offensively. We're going to show you the lineup on the screen a little bit later, but depending on the additions, you feel even pretty good right now just in terms of, okay, we have a fantastic defense and we have an impact player offensively. And he lacks star power that the other three shortstops did on the market. But that's okay.
I think I think next year he'll be a better player than Bogaerts for sure.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think I'm gonna make myself a pact for the rest of this week's program. This will be the last time I mention the word shortstop. I am tired of the conversation. I am glad that we landed one. I think everybody is. And I'm excited now when you look at this offseason as it currently stands. I think this is I think this should be a very good defensive team. This should be an improved base running team. They're very deep with their starting pitching. They've proven that they could build a bullpen. The question now is, what do they do with their offense and slug? And I believe, Matt, you're going to have something for us coming up next.
Oh, very nice transition. You're getting much better at this as we move along our run here on the program.
So a great World Cup.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. I'm not really sure what the line was entering that game on the lakefront today, but boy, did the Bears play actually decently well against the Eagles of Philadelphia. What was that line? Do you know?
I don't know because I didn't watch 1 second of it.
Okay. And get all the latest odds trends for every pro and amateur league out there, from football to basketball and esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. How about an over-under on Cubs wins totals, Sam, if you had to place a number, the Sam Olber Sportsbook here?
if it was a Sam Olver Sportsbook asking Bet Online, I'd say this will probably be higher than they'd have right now, but it'd be 82.5.
Wow, that's really exciting. Bet Online, where the game starts.
And you could have got Argentina at plus 500 at the beginning of the World Cup, according to the great Bet Online app. And if you had that, congratulations.
Welcome back in to Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are indeed going to talk about what is next for the Chicago National League Ball Club. And I was listening back to the episode today after the Field of Dreams game, Sam. It was cool to hear what we had to say in mid-August just about the offseason and different things like that. It's a little spooky. We were mentioning about Tom Ricketts speaking that day, and he said, hey, we're going to spend in the offseason, and we were talking about Jed, and sure enough, even after kind of the bumpy ride the last week, looks like they have shifted gears in the right direction. So
must have been a slow Sunday, huh?
What I'm going to do is pull up the current Cubs lineup.
Hey, you don't have to have plans every weekend.
I'm going to pull up the current Cubs lineup. Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to get into who this ball club can add.
Sure.
Okay. So right now it's going to be Happ in left, Swanson at short, Suzuki in right, Horner at second, Bellinger in center, Wisdom is the DH, Mervis at first, Morel at third, and Gomes behind.
Beautifully constructed lineup by you, by the way. Very beautiful.
Yeah, it's left some lefty righty balance in there as well.
You know me. I'm not gonna nitpick. Forget it. Okay. It was really good. It's really good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So that's the lineup right now. We put up a lineup last week. It was awful. It was one of the worst in the sport. Now with one player, it gets a lot better. And as we have this conversation, I think we're going to realize, wow, this team, especially if they're 82.5 right now, is going to be potentially a contending ball club. And
that's what I'd put them at. Yeah.
Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but it looks like Tucker Barnhart is the one they're zeroing in on for catcher, Sam.
Not going to help the offense much.
To compliment Gomes. No, it's not. But who could help the offense? I got two names that the Cubs were connected to this weekend, and I have another name as a nice option that I haven't seen officially connected to, but I would like to. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. First of all, I was disappointed that they weren't in on Justin Turner. I know a lot of people are saying I know a lot of people are saying he's 38. I'm not asking the guy to sign a 5-year deal. Right. I know he signed a 2-year deal. I thought for last year in the second half of the season he batted .319. And he plays.
I thought it was even higher, but
he plays a really solid third base with October experience. I thought he could have been a really nice steadying addition. I would have been fine giving him basically what Bellinger got, like a 1 year 17, 1 year 15, 16. He ended up getting 2 years, but at 22, not the end of the world. I was really excited about him, but nobody shared that sentiment with me. I think the two names you're going to discuss are going to be we have Mancini and Conforto, yeah.
Yes.
So I think Conforto is really interesting because when you look at this lineup that you have here, one of the reasons I wasn't a huge fan of Conforto is like we had other needs. Mm-hmm. Now you look that DH position, let's say Morel does struggle, or let's say Morel moves around the diamond and Wisdom plays some third. Conforto could DH. And Bellinger sometimes could play some first base. And then maybe, you could switch things up. But I think mostly his job is to play center. But point being, let's just say you were to take out Morel, right?
Yep.
And put Wisdom at third base, and then put Wisdom 8th and Conforto 6th. Maybe you wouldn't be able to have 3 straight lefties, but whatever. You know what we're saying.
Yeah.
That would help this lineup a lot because he's a guy that's hit over 30 home runs in the bigs before. He hasn't played in a year. He's not the greatest hitter ever. But now you would balance out your lineup very interestingly, right? Because you'd have Swanson, who's kind of a all-around hitter, a little bit more pop. Horner's a contact average guy. Suzuki's kind of an all-around guy. Happ's an all-around guy. His ground ball rate's down. But then you got Wisdom can hit home runs. Bellinger, we wouldn't be surprised if he hits 180. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 35 homers. He's one of those guys.
Right.
And then Conforto kind of falls into that category. So what you're doing is, I guess I'm doing a very poor job of getting this, concise. What I'm saying is I think Conforto really would raise the ceiling of this lineup.
He really would. He's an established big league player. He has a proven track record. He's healthy now. He hasn't played live baseball in a while. That's really the only concern, although, it could be a sizable one depending on how you chop it up. I think he would be that basically, in the case of the Cubs, a pure DH, get some time rotationally in the outfield, but it only diversifies the lineup. And, if I look for spots right there on the screen, Wisdom and Morel, with them not having to play on a daily basis would mean that you inject better players in there, which ultimately makes the team better and have a better outlook. And so I think Conforto would be a nice addition, albeit a little surprising one, but a welcome one. And then as we shift to Trey Mancini, who they've been connected with for really probably the last 3 weeks, after Jose Abreu decided to go to the Houston Astros. Mancini was a franchise player for the Orioles. Then he won a World Series with the Astros. And he's a right-handed complement to the left-handed hitting Mervis at first base. But then he could rotate at DH as well.
Yeah, I think if they go that first base route, it should be a righty. My only thing with that, Matt, and I'm not opposed to it because I think Mancini can hit, is just you're going all in on defense, right? Like that's clearly what the Swanson move is. That's clearly what the Bellinger move is. And by doing that, I don't like leaving third base open for Wisdom and Morel because both those guys proved last year that they're not great defensive third basemen. I think Wisdom's average, but he was above average and kind of really struggled down the stretch. And Morel showed that he's not close to being ready to play that position. And McKinstry, if you want to add him in there, proved that he can't make that throw consistently. Also, keep in mind, you have a rookie first baseman in Matt Mervis that isn't lauded defensively. So you're not going to be able to get away with a lot of spiked throws. I really was kind of hoping that they would just shore up third so that infield defense is shored up. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, right now, especially with additions of Mancini and Conforto, if that's the route they go, then you're rolling with Wisdom, Morel, and McKinstry at third.
Yeah, that's just really unappetizing.
But what if you added a Silver Slugger winner at the utility position and he got a lot of starts at third and Brandon Drury?
Yeah, I think Drury makes a ton of sense for this team because especially if you get Conforto, because if you get Conforto, you're kind of loading up a little bit on lefties. Bellinger doesn't hit right-handed pitching. Left-handed pitching. Happ was much better from the right side this year to give him his due. Conforto's a lefty. Mervis, we don't know if he could hit left-handed pitching. So you really want a right-handed hitting specialist, which Brandon Drury proved that he was last year with a 965 OPS versus left-handers. I think he really might be the best fit left for the Cubs because he can play third and first, so he knocks those two things out. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm super familiar with his third base defense. I know it can't be worse than McKinstry and Morel. Maybe it's worse than Wisdom. But even if he's the platoon at first and, like you said, take some starts at third, that kills two birds with one stone. And, man, if he even is just 75, 80% of the guy he was last year, this year versus left-handers, it's a worthwhile deal. I mean, 965 OPS versus lefties, that's no joke.
Jeff Passan reported today that Drury has an active market, and I only hope that the Cubs are in that market because that would be another boost to this team. It would be exciting for the fans. And I wonder if it would be a Drury or Mancini / Conforto, or if you could do a combination. Because if you sign Drury, then you see the Wisdom split time maybe with Mervis at first then rather than third, and Drury maybe just holds it down at third with Morel and McKinstry complimenting him. So, automatically he would be in the 3 to 6 range automatic.
Brandon Drury versus left-handed pitching this year. Sorry, it's 955. But listen to these numbers.
Jeez.
73 games, 155 plate appearance. So not a huge sample size, but usually when you get north of 100, you get a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
299 batting average, 329 on base, and a 626 slug.
Wow. Yeah, it's impressive.
That tells me, it's a really good fit.
I know. So he's on our wish list then, correct?
I would say I think that's fair.
Okay.
And, historically, I have the numbers. Historically in his career, he's a significantly better hitter versus lefties. It's not that drastic, but he's a very good hitter against left-handed pitching. And that, especially if you add Conforto and Drury, you're starting to cook with some gas offensively.
If you do that, then every spot on the field is filled by a reputable player.
By a reputable player, except probably catcher.
Well, but Gomes is a plus defensively, though.
Yeah, I think he's a plus defensively. I don't think he's like a plus though defensively.
No, he's not.
I think he was just so much better defensively and better with the pitching staff than Contreras that it kind of made him out to be like he was, better than he was. I think Barnhart, I think that makes sense. I mean, it's a platoon. It's a platoon that may not hit 7 homers. But, if you surround them with the right stuff, it makes sense defensively. I like it. It's good stuff. I feel much better than I did about 3 days ago.
Yes, that's for sure. We don't have to play back the tape for that. And let me just give you my wish list that I wrote down last night, as a matter of fact.
A new car for me.
Which will be a great segue into the last part of this program. And my wish list is some combination of Barnhart, Drury, Mancini, Conforto, Chafin, and Drew, Smiley. And folks, the Cubs have checked off one of those. Oh,
no, keep finishing. Just don't. I just want to correct you when you're done.
Go ahead, because we're gonna move forward.
Yeah. Don't put Barnhart on your wish list.
Well, I guess it's less of a wish list and more of what they're gonna do.
This guy's. You know what I mean?
No, he's not a wish list. But they're going to bring him in, I would think.
Yeah, they're going to bring him in.
If they don't sign him, they're going to have to get someone down the road.
Put Mike Piazza on your wish list, not Barnhart, right?
Okay. I know I have a weird definition of wish list.
I know what you meant. We're having fun.
But one player on the wish list, Drew Smiley, and he's back. We tell you about that coming up next. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. According to ESPN 1000's Jesse Rogers, the Cubs and pitcher Drew Smiley are close to a deal, bringing the left-hander back to the north side. Smiley posted a 3.47 ERA, 1.19 whip in 106 innings, 22 starts in 2022, 91 strikeouts to only 26 walks. I am all smiles about bringing this left-hander back.
What was the money on that?
No money yet. No dollar figures. Probably a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I'm fine with this. I'm not head over heels like yourself. There's a lot of pitching. There's a lot of the same. There's a lot of the same guys on this club. I feel like we got enough pitchers that throw 92 with an off speed and a grounder to third to feed everybody in the world. But it's fine. It's depth. He pitched well this year. There's no doubt about that.
Real well.
I think to tease our next couple of shows, the trade options now become fascinating.
Yes, let's get into that this week.
Madrigal, Velasquez, Samson, if he has any value.
Morel.
You could package those guys and go get yourself, somebody at the hot corner. But I don't really have much on Smiley, Matt. He did a really nice job. I would describe Drew Smiley as a professional. He's one of those guys. You feel good when he's on the mound. The game, the scenarios, they don't really bother him. He does his thing. If he executes, he's going to pitch well. If he makes mistakes, he's going to get knocked all over the park. He's one of these guys. There's a lot of these guys out there.
No ace on this staff, but the pure pitching depth is pretty impressive. Stroman, Steele, Tyone, Hendricks, Smiley, Sampson, Wisniewski, Assad, and Killian. So
rank your top 5 in terms of confidence, in terms of the pitchers you have going into 2023.
Just purely confidence?
And yeah, starters.
Okay, I'll say number 1, Steele. Number 2, Stroman. Number 3, Tyone. Number 4, Smiley. And number 5, Sampson. Wisniewski would probably be my number 1 most excited to see. I just can't have Hendricks in the 5 because I don't know what he is health-wise.
I still got Hendricks in there. Otherwise, it's probably the same. The Steele versus Stroman thing's interesting because Stroman has the better pedigree. He's probably the more reliable guy, but I agree with you. I think Steele
he's number 2.
I think Steele. I mean, we'll do 80 different shows on this. I think Steele's goal this year should be making the All-Star team.
Let's go.
No, I don't think that's a crazy statement at all.
But you heard it here first, though. Once again, we are first with some of these takes. Please tell your friends. Yeah,
no, a lot of good stuff. The Cubs have elevated themselves now to a team where I think they should be in the 80s range. And there's still some big moves out there, some big fish to catch, and hopefully we can catch them.
So we haven't decided exactly content plans for regular episodes or whether or not this will be a regular episode, but we do want to announce right now that at 7 p.m. Central Standard on Monday, 7 p.m. So it's 7 p.m. today for a lot of people listening, is going to be a special live show live on YouTube. And it might be a longer in the tooth show, a longer show that's going to feature not only Cubs discussion, but also interaction with listeners, both chat and possibly live. And also, or all of it's live, but possibly on the screen. And then I think we're going to have potentially some Coca-Cola being drank on the air, potentially other items as well. We may open a couple gifts on the air, and also,
it's going to be
also some magic tricks.
Yeah, it's going to be
truly.
It's going to. Can you do that magic trick via the camera?
I actually just texted Nick Cozy about that. I don't know.
Oh, why don't you should test it, maybe.
I think I could do the mentalism one. The card trick would be. I don't see how I would be able to do that.
It's just going to be a fun. We're not going to talk about that much. We're just going to. It's just a fan. It's a listener show for everybody. Go through all the comments,
listeners
interact.
First.
Yeah, it's kind of. And I think we're going to do one of these shows every now and then because it just seems kind of the right thing. So it'll be fun. Comment, bring some people.
Right. Pull up a chair.
Hopefully I can get some rest today.
Right. I think you'll sleep nicely.
Yeah.
Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Cubs on YouTube as we make the push to 2,000 subscribers, and smash the like button on all your favorite Locked On Cubs content, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods on the audio side. You could drop us a text or voicemail, 312-834-4634. Thanks for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. Now make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Host Peter Bukowski brings you the biggest stories from around the sports world in 20 minutes. Get the analysis and opinions before anyone else with our local and national experts and insiders. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Exciting week ahead. For Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.